Albert Camus said, "I would choose to live my whole life believing that God exists, and then die to see if what I believed is true. This is better than living my life believing there is no God, and then dying to see if I was wrong." Camus emphasized this point by saying, "I would choose to live my life believing that God exists, and then die to see if what I believed is true. In that case, whether you find that God doesn't exist or that He does, you lose nothing. This is better than living your life believing there is no God, and then dying to find out if you were mistaken. Now imagine getting there, having declared He doesn't exist, only to find that He does and always has. Then it would be the end for you." He said, "Life is not the sum of just any other things, but rather the sum of all the choices you have made. Sometimes you are who you are because you chose to be that way. However, we cannot ignore that no one controls everything. If we controlled everything exactly as we wanted, I believe no one would choose a life of hardship, hatred, despair, incurable disease, depression, violence, war, hunger, division, or any other misfortune that could happen to you. However, most of us still play a significant role in determining what we will become in the future. The reason for this is that we have no power to change our past, but at least we have a 95% chance of shaping what we will become tomorrow. We all have choices, even though those choices are not the same for everyone. But what each of us does with those choices is what sets us apart. What I do with my choices is what differentiates me from you, and what you do with yours is what separates you from others." He said, "There is no day without night. You cannot know the value of food without experiencing hunger, and there is no joy without sorrow. Indeed, without having suffered, you cannot truly appreciate happiness. Without experiencing war, you cannot understand the value of peace. You wouldn't recognize good times without having lived through bad ones. And after all that, nothing lives without dying. Everything that has life will one day die." But before we continue with other profound words, you might be wondering, who exactly was Albert Camus? The answer is simple. Was a French-Algerian philosopher, author, and journalist. At the age of 44, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1957. Albert Camus was born in Algeria on November 7, 1913, and later died in France in a car accident on January 4, 1960. Like many other philosophers, Albert Camus was born and raised in a difficult life situation. His family was poor, but after completing high school, he had the opportunity to study philosophy at the University of Algeria. Going back briefly to his childhood, Albert Camus' mother was named Catherine Hélène Camus. She was French, but also had Spanish ancestry. Albert Camus' father, Lucien Auguste Camus, was also a poor Frenchman who worked as a laborer on farms during that time. His father died during World War I in 1914, and Albert Camus never had the chance to know him. In 1930, a tuberculosis outbreak occurred in their area, making it necessary for Albert Camus to be moved to his uncle's home. It was there that he met a teacher named Jean Grenier, an expert in Greek philosophy. This man was the one who introduced Albert Camus to philosophy. Albert Camus embraced the idea of pursuing philosophy wholeheartedly. He eventually grew to love it deeply, and when the opportunity to attend university came, he pursued his studies with great dedication. He began university in 1933 and graduated in 1936. The life story of Albert Camus is quite extensive, but his words can help you understand who he truly was and can also guide you personally. Camus said, "Do not walk behind me, I may not lead you well. And do not walk in front of me, I may not follow you. Instead, walk beside me and be my friend." True friends should walk together, never leaving each other behind in everything. If a friend walks in front of you, exactly, you may not lead your friend well. And if you, yourself, walk behind your friend, they may not lead you properly either. A true friend is the one who walks alongside you, on the same path, sharing the same goals, stumbling together, suffering together, rising together, and after everything, you both heal together. Albert Camus said, "The problem is not being loved, but rather loving. Before asking others to love you, make sure you love others first. Do not seek to make people love you while you yourself do not love. You want people to have compassion for you, yet you have no compassion for others. You want people to treat you well, but you do not treat others well. You want people to help you, yet you never help others. No, this is not what you should do." The Bible clearly says, "Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for whoever loves others has fulfilled the law." The commandments, "You shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not covet," and whatever other command there may be, are summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. Albert Camus said that the only way to fight against a world that denies you freedom is to rebel. When the world does not treat you well with peace, you rebel and become a rebel against it. The meaning of being a rebel, according to Camus, is the man who says, "No, I reject poverty. No, I reject ignorance. No, I reject laziness." These are all the things that Albert Camus considers as being a rebel. He said that humans are the only creatures that fail to be what they were created to be. Humans are the only creatures that live their entire lives feeling that their existence lacks meaning, and they spend their time searching for reasons to live. A human is the only creature that does not recognize that its existence has a purpose and a great plan. All other animals and creatures on earth live with reasons for their existence, living for a significant purpose. This is why they are content and accept life as it is. But humans are the only creatures who cannot accept the life they live. Albert Camus said that there's nothing more disrespectful than showing respect out of fear. True respect should come from genuine admiration or understanding, not because someone feels scared or intimidated. If you only treat someone well because you're afraid of them, that's not real respect. It's just fear in disguise. It's like being polite to someone just because they have power over you, not because you actually value them as a person. True respect should always be sincere and come from the heart, not from fear of consequences. He said, "Integrity doesn't need rules to exist. A person who is wise or has good morals doesn't need laws to tell them to do the right thing. They'll naturally do it because it's the right thing to do. It's like when someone helps others, not because they're told to or because it's required, but simply because they feel it's the right thing to do." True integrity comes from within, not from external rules or pressure. Camus said, "A poor person who is free is better off than a rich person living like a slave." Freedom is more valuable than wealth. Even if someone has all the riches in the world, if they're controlled by others or tied down by their possessions, they're not truly living. On the other hand, a poor person who has their freedom can live with dignity and enjoy life on their own terms. True happiness comes from freedom, not money. Albert Camus said that in places or situations where there's no hope, you have to create it yourself. Life can sometimes feel hopeless, but instead of giving up, you can choose to imagine a better future and work toward it. Even when things seem impossible, finding a reason to hope, no matter how small, can give you the strength to keep going. Hope isn't always something you find. Sometimes it's something you make. He said, "The definition of happiness is the simple harmony between a man and the life he leads. No matter how you live, you can choose to be happy in any life you lead. Whether you live joyfully or in sorrow, happiness can be a choice because you lead your life. It does not lead you." A person who spends more time in sorrow than in happiness is being led by life rather than leading it. But someone who spends more time happy than sad is leading life rather than being led by it. Choose to lead your life because it is yours. If you don't, life itself will lead you. Happiness is ultimately a choice because I sought harmony between myself and the life I lead. Albert Camus said, "True love is completely selfless. It's about giving your time, care, and even making sacrifices for someone without expecting anything in return, not even a thank you or a reward. True love isn't about what you can gain. It's about what you can give. It's pure, unconditional, and focused entirely on the happiness and well-being of the other person. When love comes from this place, it's the most genuine and powerful kind of love." He also said that a true man is someone who shows his worth through his actions, not just through his words. It's easy to say things, but real strength and character are shown by what you do and how you live, not by what you claim. A true person doesn't need to boast about who they are. Their actions speak louder than their words. The things they stand for are reflected in their behavior, not just in their speech. Camus said that opportunities don't just come to you while you sit around waiting for them. You have to go out and make them happen through your actions. It's not about waiting for something good to fall into your lap. It's about actively working, taking risks, and pursuing what you want. Opportunities come to those who are doing something, not to those who are just waiting for them to appear. He said, "The hardest thing for anyone to give up is what they do not want to let go of. Anything you desire, you can achieve or let go of. The reason you struggle to quit a certain habit is because you don't truly want to. Willpower is the real strength." Camus also said, "We spend our days reflecting on ourselves, but fail to find time to make decisions about the mistakes that led us to that reflection." If you're lucky enough to have watched this video and found it helpful, I want to make sure you don't miss out on similar content in the future. It can be hard to find videos like this again unless you're notified. So, to make sure you never miss a video from this channel, I highly recommend subscribing and turning on the notification bell. That way, you'll easily be able to find more videos like this one whenever they're posted. I wish you blessings and good fortune, and may you continue to have great moments.